Listen to me and I'll tell you no lie. Too fast to turn, too low to climb. I got a cool machine and everybody say, whew, takes your breath away, border gliding.
Welcome back everybody to clip number 7 out of 12 clips covering this 427k flight that was originally run as an online competition in March 2021 and that took place over the Welsh landscape. So clip 7 out of 12. Hey, we're over halfway. If you've got this far and you've watched the others, you're over halfway. So what can we say about this clip? Just to recap, the wind is at 295 degrees at 21 knots. So most of this coastline is pretty much facing into wind. So there are lift opportunities off of this. We are now heading down to the most remote turning point, the furthest away end of the task at Fishguard. And we're only 8.6 kilometers out. It's somewhere sort of over there. I'm flying with my Ghost. That's because I originally flew this task not in the competition, out of which 23 set off and only 4 came back, so it's a hard task. I flew it in the summer, I think, or late spring of 2021, and I got round it slowly, way above my pay grade, trying to do this kind of thing, and very spooky with no big mountains for lifting things, no thermals. This is not an area of flying I have any familiarity with. So I flew it then, and having started these YouTube videos, which were really done originally for a couple of mates, but then I made them public and people have been watching them, so it's quite nice to put things out there. I hadn't saved a replay file of that flight, so I was faced with doing the whole thing again. It's a long ordeal with no certainty of getting round until I thought, hang on, I can load up my Ghost from the flight last year, follow them round, and I should get round. And that's sort of what I've done. So far I'm flying with the Ghost. He won't appear till I press the play button and get going, but he's somewhere probably slightly ahead of me or something, I think, probably. But let's press play and get on with it. We'll go from there. Right, hold on. Just raising the visor. And off we go. Oh, Ghosty. Oh, there he is, yeah. So he's ahead of us. At a similar height. The reason we're not sort of flying in close formation is that on clip 2, I realised that this wasn't necessarily the best way to do things. On clip 2, the Ghost nearly sort of caused me to land out, even though I thought that was impossible if I stuck close to him. And it may be because, as I've said on many of these clips, it may be because Condor in replay, I suspect, doesn't render things in necessarily quite the accurate position. So when I thought I was flying in close formation with my Ghost, actually Condor had probably positioned him somewhere that wasn't actually where he was on the real flight, because at 1 or 2 points on clip 2 he's the most bizarre flying. He's flying out into nothing really, there's no reason for it. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. So I'm keeping him in sight. I want to do that, but I'm doing a little bit of flying things how I want in my own way. And just to recap on this, the fastest guy on the competition got round at 131 kph in 3 hours 15 minutes, carried full water ballast and probably raced along at 90 knots. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going slowly, staying high where I can, trying to find time to enjoy the view, trying to get round the task. That's the main thing. If I've done that, for me it's a big success. And I do complete this task the second time round at 82 kph, and I actually managed to do it faster than my Ghost, but you'll see how all that happens in future clips. That doesn't happen yet, and for the moment we're keeping in touch with each other. But I've clearly decided to dawdle on this little headland just to see whether I can get anything of it. But if this was real life and I was this far above this headland, I'm not sure how much I would expect to get, so if I'm not getting much now, I shouldn't be too surprised, really. No, come on, let's stop fooling around and get on with it. I think that's Fishguard there, isn't it? At 11 o'clock off the nose, that kind of greyish looking stuff. This is where the definition of the VRH set can let you down a bit, because you'd have been more aware of it being a town right there if the contrast was a bit greater, as in real life, in the definition. But I think this must be Fishguard here, actually. Yeah, it is Fishguard. What am I thinking? So, okay. So I think we've got to go around Fishguard and then, well, we might want to sort of come back onto this coastline, but let's see what actually happens. I think this is quite a long clip, by the way, so I'm going to pause and make yourself a cup of tea. You'll get a packet of crisps and a beer, settle in for the long haul. Because on this clip we round Fishguard and then we do fly low level along the coastline because, well, what else can we do, you know? We're down to 3 kilometres, 1,200 feet. And for non-aviators, the point about this kind of height is that when I was flying gliders on flat field sites, and you might have been hoping to find thermals to stay up, but it hadn't happened. It's really, you know, it's something like 900 feet that you really want to be in what's called the high key point, i.e. the beginning of the circuit. At that point, you want to be definitely thinking about, I am landing, I'm not trying to stay up. So to be merrily doing a cross country when you're down to heights like this, for me, is just like weird. And strictly speaking, there are rules. Forgive me, full aviators who are up to date on this, it's all gone rusty with me now, but if you're over a town, you should be, it's a minimum 1,500 feet above it, unless you are some distance from the centre. I mean, in common sense terms, you've got to be able to glide away from the town safely. Well, looking at it, you can see from the angles that actually you could very easily glide away from a place like Fishguard, and you don't represent any threat to the town. For what it's worth, there's even one or two promising looking green patches in the town, isn't there? If you really had to, but you'd be in trouble if you did something like that. So here we are. I've changed the PDA to show the little red barrel. So I don't know what distance we are now from the TP, but the Ghost must be about to turn around it. And even if I can't quite, yeah, he's turning around it now. So I should very soon see him coming right past me going the other way. There we go. Turning around and back he comes. And we're under 1,000 feet. Hello, Ghost. See you in a minute. Yep, so we've got a green barrel now, so we're in the turning point sector. What it is, whether it's that roundabout on the road or something there, I don't know. Can't really tell, the definition isn't good enough on the ground to know what on earth it is. Right, okay, let's get on with the job in hand. So first of all, we kind of sort of think we're going to go back along the coastline. That would leave us with a slightly tricky patch, wouldn't it? Because although this bit coming up might have the wind blowing on it more or less, we've somehow or other got to get over that spit of land into the next bit. And anyway, I'm still following the Ghost, so even if I might have tried something different on this flight, using my own initiative, I seem to recall on my original flight, for some reason, I wasn't happy with the prospect here. And I think I must have seen those hills there and imagined that there was a better prospect awaiting me on those hills if I could just reach them. I just wasn't happy about this. 900 odd feet, and yeah, look, as we come over here, are we going to get much lift off of this? Why is it not giving me a bit more lift than this? It's starting to give me some. So this is what happened on the original flight. I would have definitely got nervous and thought, you've got to make a quick decision here. I don't like the look of this. Hell, I'm fleeing for those hills. Those hills look good. But clearly on the repeat flight, I'm deciding to have a little go myself here rather than give up too quickly. I can't quite believe why it isn't working. I don't really understand why it isn't working, to be honest. It's a bit weird, that. But whatever it is, I've obviously decided now do one more turn like that and you won't even make those hills. So I'm going to have to head for the hills, and you can see I'm now lower than the Ghost. And now I find the lift. You see, there's something weird about that. That doesn't really fit with real life. Anyway, it's helping me on my way to this big hill here, and surely, with us heading southwest, east of the wind being more or less northwest, we're going to find this hill allows us to do something, and it goes up to a good height. That's probably what I'm thinking as well, is that, you know, if I can work my way up this hill, and probably at some point I might even have thought the one beyond it, from there I should be able to go pew-ing, and, you know, and set off over there like an arrow towards the next turning point with a decent bit of height in hand. It doesn't really work out like that. I soon forget about that bit further up there, which after all is a long way off track. So here we come into this hill. How will it work? Will it work? Ghost isn't that much higher than me, even so. So I'm heading in to hug it as close as I can. Yeah, keeping a bit of speed on. I mean, it's not quite like trying to do tight stuff on mountains, so you perhaps as long as you fly gently you can go a bit nearer to the 50-knot mark, but strictly speaking it's a bit slow. But it's not very exciting at the moment, the lift, is it? I mean, you know. So I'm just trying to turn on this hill and sort of stay in the lift and push out a bit, see what happens as I push out. I mean, I'm gaining height gently, so we can afford to stay on this hill and explore it, see if we can find the good stuff. So there's a steeper ridge along here, which might help to ramp things up, and you can see it's like a series of terraces going down towards the coast, isn't it? So we're gently climbing here, but it's nothing stunning. That's improving a bit. So I think I'm riding this round in a great big circle to see whether it gets better, as it seems to be getting a bit further around here. But although this bit is perhaps a bit more into wind, that slope, it's not as steep a ramp. And again, this is a point where what Condor does won't necessarily mirror very well what happens in real life. But one way or another, it all seems to be working a bit better for us here, doesn't it? It would have been interesting, actually, wouldn't it, to have got back to that line of hills there and seen what it would have done. I don't know. Well, it would have been interesting, but we didn't do that, so it's academic. So we've gained, is it best part of 400 feet, which in terms of this flight is quite a lot, you know, because there's not huge heights on offer. Well, not for most of it. There's better heights in some places when we get back into the mountains properly. So I think I'm just enjoying the feeling of gaining height here quite nicely before I have to set off on the coastal trip. But I'm also watching the Ghost, who I don't want to get too far away from me, and there might be a point where I'm thinking, well, I know that he managed to make it work from this height, so let's not hang around here much longer, because we could get higher, but we'd get further away from the Ghost, and I quite like keeping him company at the moment. So I'm still going slowly in this to milk what I can from it until it drops off. And then hopefully in a moment I will say, right, that's it, yeah. Peeling off towards where I want to go, putting the nose down and cracking on. Hopeful of heading for some good stuff along the coast here. I'm not wanting my ghost to get further ahead of me than he is. Well, more or less. £70k to go to Aberystwyth. About 69. And then we've still got a shed load more to do, including some more challenges. I'm enjoying not talking too much for a change, just enjoying the scenery. I'm obviously starting to probe a bit to see whether there might be a bit of lift as we go along on this stretch. Not really found it yet, so adjusting a bit to see whether I can find the best energy line. I mean, a bold pilot wouldn't be flying as slow as this really. They would get themselves into the best energy line and then hammer along. But I like the feeling of hoovering up whatever lift I can. So that's interesting, you know, I was talking about, I wonder what would have happened if we'd gone along that ridge line. Well, along it goes there, but it's leading us away, isn't it, from where we want to go. And then, yeah, I think it would have left you in a bit of a pickle, really, a complete pickle. So, yeah. But, you know, it's the kind of thing that's tempting. I think there are so many places where you could just make the wrong decision. And I'm sure, in real life, when Chris Gill and people like that fly these tasks, they don't just sort of try and find out as they go along, like I'm doing. They'll have sat down with various maps and done a lot of chatting about the best kind of route to follow to go from place to place, good prospect. I think they will also have wanted a day when there is a reliable wind of a certain direction and strength blowing, because, you know, wind changes on this kind of a task could be fatal, couldn't they, really? So I think it's planned down quite a lot of detail, so they wouldn't just be kind of trying to find out like we are here. Still, that's the fun of doing it this way. But it's not how you should behave if you're serious about doing this kind of difficult cross-country flying. You really need to know as much as you can before the flight. I used to work in sort of event management area, and it always seemed to me that what you had to be able to do with that was to lock down as much as you could before the event, if it was possible to, so that it was secure and wouldn't go wrong on the day. And then the other half of you had to have a mentality that assumed that things would go wrong on the day, things that you really couldn't lock down before the event. And you had to just deal with those things and roll with them as they came along. And I think that's pretty much the same mentality that's needed here, really, that you try and take as much of the uncertainty out of it as you can before you ever step into the airplane and set off. And then the other stuff, well, you've just got to deal with as you go along, constantly monitoring, reviewing, adjusting strategy. And in the end with the glider, of course, quite often accepting a land out, or if you've got a pop-up motor, popping up the motor and going home. And as part of the pre-flight planning, you know, all the land out options should be considered as well. What are we going to do at this point here if we don't find a lift? You know, are the places where we can put the glider down, and so on and so forth. So we're bimbling along okay here. I obviously like the look of this cove, I think perhaps, and I'm thinking perhaps I'll see if there's anything interesting around here and around this headland. I'm trying to remember where we're up to. Is that, yeah, this must be Death Bay, isn't it, coming back the other way? Yes, this is Death Bay, isn't it? And for some reason it all looks so much easier going from this direction. I can't imagine not getting across that and onto all those coastal ridges over there. But I'm probably having a bit of fun and gaining a bit of height, because why not? Grab it while you can. Fill your boots. And again, in real life, would you really have been able to get up to 1,800 feet above this this coastline? Comments in the section below, please. Chris Gill and other expert flyers who've flown in North Wales or anywhere remotely like this. So yes, I've taken a reasonable bit of juice out of that. Ghost is getting away from me now, so probably I also just want to crack on a bit and not let the distance between me and the Ghost go any further. So putting the nose down quite possibly to at least 70 knots. I'm going for 70 knots or thereabouts. What are we doing? I could be just looking at the distance figures to the Ghost and moving it to a speed where I don't let him get any further away. But I can't remember how I was thinking at this point. I was probably feeling altogether more confident about our ability to actually just work this coastline and move along the task without too much issue. Which of course begs the question, why was I, twice, so nervous about just getting on with it when we were coming down to Fishguard, you know? Why indeed? But hindsight's a wonderful thing. So we're flying pretty much northeast, and the wind is pretty much northwest. So I want to be careful about saying pretty much, because 295 is really kind of west-northwest, isn't it? So I should be more concerned about like east-southeast. East-southeast? Yeah, east-southeast, I think. I have to admit, this is one of the areas I have real trouble with. I'm no good at arithmetic, especially when it's trying to do, 360 degrees and taking away a number and things. I'm not good at it, I'm afraid. And although the PDA display, you can click through several screens on it, and one of them shows the wind direction, I don't think it sort of shows it in a way that would be helpful, i.e. kind of how it's blowing across the aircraft. That'd be quite helpful. I think it just points like a needle of a compass to the direction the wind's coming from. Still, it's a useful reminder. So that's the end of that clip. And that's interesting. I thought this clip went on for a little bit longer than that. Probably I deal with Aberystwyth in the next clip, so I would imagine we can assume that we carry on like this up this coast, doing perfectly okay on the journey up to Aberystwyth. And the next time it's interesting to talk about this task is when we are just short of Aberystwyth, and I won't do a spoiler by telling you why that is. We'll save it for clip number 8. It'll be the next one, won't it? So I hope you've enjoyed this clip. I really like this coastal run. I mean, I think it's very pretty. Yeah, we've got the sun behind us a bit as well now, haven't we, as well? So it makes the colours all a bit nicer. And isn't it ridiculous to say that? But, it's true that VR will do that kind of thing as well. So it just makes it a little bit nicer to have some backlighting as we head down the coast. Where's the shadow of this glider? Yeah, can't see it. It's probably down there somewhere, because that would tell me what kind of angle the sun is at. I mean, you can get a rough idea by looking behind me. Yeah. And the clock says, 3:15, doesn't it? 14 hours. So, yeah. So we've got, and the shadow. Well, the shadows, the shadows, the shadows, what are the shadows doing? This is another thing, of course, is, you see the shadows aren't really, the shadows would have the sun being over there somewhere, wouldn't they? So I'm just guessing the shadows on the maps that are used in this are probably just fixed. After all, Condor is a piece of software that wants to save its power for the business of flying gliders, not necessarily making the landscape beautiful in every minute detail. And I think it's quite good enough, actually, because the immersive experience of flying a glider in VR in Condor is very good. I find my imagination can bring back what it was like in real life and kind of render that for me, really. Don't need the goggles to do it. Anyway, that's the end of this clip. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you did. And if I can work out how to put the little bell on the screen, click the bell notification button and all that stuff. This is what the YouTubers say. I've been watching YouTube and picking it up. And hope you enjoyed it. Look after yourselves. As usual, when I take the visor off, it will look like I'm bailing out the aircraft. So hope to see you next time. Okay, bye.